Hey guys, Todd from Great Escape Farms here. Today I am going to talk about rooting hardwood cuttings, and this is very similar to a video I did in January of 2016. Except I had a number of things I did not cover in that, and the video quality wasn't that great due to the high wind out at the farm. So today, hopefully I'll address all those issues and get you a little more information out here. So first, let me start with some terminology. So instead of starting with hardwood, I'm going to start with softwood. So a softwood cutting is basically new growth that you get in the springtime that just shot out. So usually in a deciduous area, I'm in zone 7B of the USDA zone chart, and our trees and shrubs bud out in the April-May time frame. So you can start taking softwood cuttings on those in the June time frame. And softwood cuttings are basically cuttings that you can take, and they're brand new, and you take them and they snap just a little bit. If they bend, it's too soft and you can't take it. So softwood cuttings are usually a month to 2 months to 2.5 months after they come out, and they snap. And then there's semi-hardwood, which is harder, is usually taken in the August-September time frame for me, and it definitely snaps like that. And it's a little more difficult to get the semi-hardwood to root in this particular area, at least the stuff that I'm growing. And then hardwood is wood that was, again, it budded out in the April-May time frame or in your spring, and you're taking it from a deciduous plant when they are dormant. So when I mean dormant, I mean when the leaves are off. This right here is a plant that I cut. This is a muscadine vine, and you'll notice there are no leaves on it. It is dormant. So this is a hardwood cutting. I know that it came out last spring. So this year it is a hardwood cutting. If you get into something that is a year or two or more older, then you go beyond hardwood, and it's difficult, if not near impossible, to get those to root. Depends on the type of plant, but you have a lot better luck with first year hardwood cuttings. So next thing we're going to talk about are internodes. And an internode is anywhere that in this case, a tendril or a leaf or a bud is coming out. So there's one, there's two, there's three, there's our fourth internode. So generally for hardwood cuttings, you're going to want anywhere from a minimum of 3 up to 5 or 6 internodes. You make a cut just below the first internode, and you cut off any tendrils or anything like that. So I have 1 internode, 2 internodes, a third. I'm going to cut just above that. So that's my 3 internodes. Make sure you know which direction it is. You don't want to plant it upside down. So this is my bottom one. And what I can do for hardwood cuttings, it's as simple as stick it in the ground, which unfortunately is a little bit frozen for me right now. It's easier to deal when you're not frozen. So you do not need any rooting hormone or anything like that. However, rooting hormone can help a little depending on the particular plant that you're dealing with. So I know for a fact that muscadine and grapes and elderberry do not need rooting hormone. They are very, very easy to root with hardwood cuttings. Last year I put in blueberry, and this is a blueberry twig right here. Last year I grew blueberry. I have tried many times growing them as softwood cuttings, and I have had like a 1% success rate. They are very, very difficult to grow with softwood cuttings. But last year I did hardwood cuttings, and I had over a 50% success rate with those. So I was very, very happy with that. And for those, I did do and will use rooting hormone again this year. So let me go over a couple other things we want to do here. When you're taking cuttings from multiple different plants here, you don't want to spread disease. So you want to go ahead and clean your utensils. And the way that I do that is I just grab some rubbing alcohol and sanitize. So I just put a couple squirts of sanitizer. Rubbing alcohol would do the same thing, and just kind of rub it all the way around on all the different sides. And then this is sanitized and ready to go. I'll go ahead and dry it, and any pathogens or anything on there would be dead at this point. So I don't need to do this for every single cut, but I do need to do it for every single different type of plant, or every single different plant that I'm going to do. So if I have 3 different blueberry bushes, I'm going to clean my tools every single time in between a given plant itself. So this one right here that I just put in, I had not cleaned these, so I'm going to toss that. I don't want to spread anything. So again, I'm going to take 1, 2, okay, so I go 1, actually, there's still a couple things right here. I'm going to try to get these close. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put it in the ground. And then you'll notice I have about 2 inches right here. I want to come right up within about 1/8 of an inch of the internode there and cut it off. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. And I can put this one in the ground, and then I come right up, get close to that one, cut the internode or cut the tendril off. Here's another tendril right here. Let me cut it off. Let me get a little bit closer with it. So I have 1, 2, 3, cut it, and I stick it in the ground. And that's all I'm going to do for right now. I'll just toss that aside, let it mulch in. So the nice thing about hardwood cuttings is you put them in the ground, and what you're waiting for is for them to callus over and grow roots, which they will do as they start budding out. And you can water them as you normally do. You don't have to do any special mist irrigation or anything else. You may want to keep them out of full sun until they get a little better established with the root system. But other than that, you don't really have any serious irrigation issues. You can put them right where you're going to plant them. You can put them in a pot. However, if you do put them in a pot, pots dry out a little quicker. So you got to make sure that you keep the pot itself watered. You don't want these to dry completely out. If you're going to plant them in a bed like I have right here, you'll notice they're very small and they can actually get lost in here. So you'll probably want to label them. Let's see, let's move on with another one here. So the internodes right here, this is a nice size stick. It's I don't know, 3 inches sticking up there. This is an elderberry, and I have an internode right here. I have an internode right here. My next internode is right here. So to get my 3, whoops, guess what I didn't do? I didn't clean my utensils here. Go ahead and give this a quick clean. Got to make sure that we're not spreading any kind of disease. Okay, so I have 1, I have 2, and I have 3. So I'm going to cut up above this. And I cut at a little bit of an angle here. I can't really get it in the video here, but I cut at a little bit of an angle. I don't cut it even across, and that's so when it rains, the water won't pool on it. The water will fall off, just so that I'm not rotting the top part. Eventually the top part here will die. It will die right back to this internode right here, but I don't want to cause it to rot and disease the plant until it's fully established, and it will take care of itself. I don't want to help it along there. So on the bottom, again, I have 1, 2, 3 internodes. I'm going to put it right next to this. These other ones I pushed in about 1.5 inches or so. This one I pushed in about 2.5 to 3 inches. It really depends on variety, but I have to have it in at least that far for something this size, just so the wind won't blow it over. And if you notice, it sticks up a good bit more. So now let's talk about another plant here. Actually, before I do, let me go ahead and clean my utensils. Okay, clean enough. This is a piece of blueberry, and this piece of blueberry, I come all the way up to the tip. As far as internodes, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you count the top one, 11 internodes on it. And I really don't want this to get too much shorter. I will go ahead and just trim the top couple off right there. And I'll go with, so this whole stick itself is about 3 inches. So I will go ahead and I will stick it in. Actually, this being a blueberry here, I will grab some powdered rooting hormone. And actually that one's not open yet. Let me grab another one here just for ease, because this one is open. And usually I would stick it in water, and then I would come in and just put a little bit of rooting hormone on it and then stick it in the ground. And like I say, for blueberries with rooting hormone, I had a very high success rate with hardwood cuttings last year, so I will use rooting hormone on those. Rooting hormone just seems to stick a little better if you wet the plant first and then stick it in rooting hormone. There's a couple different types of rooting hormone, so there's powdered and there's liquid, several and many different brands. So both of these brands came from either Home Depot or Lowe's, one of the local hardware stores. And this is a liquid hormone, and the liquid rooting hormone allows you to mix it up in different concentrations. So this one is called Dip and Grow, and the different concentrations, you don't need it to be as potent for the softwood cuttings as you do for the hardwood cuttings. So the hardwood cuttings, they're harder and more difficult for anything to get on, so I make it a little bit stronger for the hardwood and a little bit stronger for the semi-hardwood than I do for the softwood. Softwood would be the weakest concentration. For the powdered rooting hormone, that's difficult to do. You can't, I suppose you could add more or less powder, but they make different potency rooting hormones. So you have to get specific with that and look at it. I don't really get into that much detail. Like I say, especially for hardwood cuttings, you can put in hardwood cuttings without any rooting hormone at all. Or like I did with the blueberries, because I had very good success last year, you can just put a little bit on that. I just put a little bit of powder on. Don't worry about it. If it makes it, great. If not, oh well. One of the other questions I got on the other video is, I put the powdered rooting hormone on. What happens if it rains? Won't it all wash off? Well, the main reason for the rooting hormone is to get it to callus and get the branches to start initially. So yeah, I lost a good bit of the powder when I was actually pushing it in there, but there's enough of it on there just to help the bottom of the plant to callus over and to start forming roots. And water and everything, it happens in normal in nature. You can get by without rooting hormone, so just having it there, it helps a little. If it washes off, then you're no worse off than having not used it at all. So you still have a very good chance of it working. In the other video I did, I had orange sand. It was actually called concrete sand, and I used that for my softwood cuttings. And it was all that I had available for the hardwood cuttings that I did last year, so I put it in that. These things will grow in sand, they'll grow in clay, they'll grow in garden soil, and like I say, this is a little bit frozen here. You can push it in. So anytime with hardwood cuttings, anytime between about Thanksgiving and I probably wouldn't go much past the end of February, because you don't really want them to bud out immediately afterwards. You want them to give a little bit of time to callus over and get a little bit of roots going. So I believe that is all of the issues that I had missed on the other one. If there's anything else that you can think about, please check the question and answer to this video, or if it's not there, please ask a question. I really appreciate the engagement on the last video, and it helps me learn and try to make sure I get all of the information out and get it out properly. So I do appreciate you guys checking it out. Please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, and also check out our blog post on greatescapefarms.com. Thank you very much and have a great day.